I'm Scott Al Miller. It is the 2nd of April, 2023. This is my vlog of daily life living in Leon, Nicaragua. Today, I'm going to be talking a bit about something completely different than our normal topics. I'm going to be talking about ChatGPT and its use in business and school and things like that, and ways that we really should be thinking about it because it's a hot topic going on right now. And to some degree, I'm going to jump on the bandwagon, but really this came up in some groups that I'm involved with, and I think having some discussion about it makes sense. So we're going to get to that right after the bump.
We've come so far since we began this love. Been through the trenches, seen so many.
Okay, so ChatGPT, for anyone who's living under a rock and have no idea what I'm talking about, this is the new OpenAI product for artificial intelligence that is pretty much open to the public and anyone can go use. And it's the first accessible, really amazing artificial intelligence. Like, this really takes computer processing to a place where most people are kind of in awe of just the amazing things that it can do. It is a leap forward in just how smart computers are, right? It's been trained on insane amounts of data. It is constantly talking to people. It is billions of dollars, as far as I know, of compute hardware processing. Like, it's truly, truly amazing stuff that is going on. And kudos to OpenAI for coming up with such brilliant software. Now, I've not actually used it, but I've seen a lot of things done with it. My team uses it, and I've been following it to some degree. A lot of people are talking about it in interesting terms. People are worried about people using it at work. People are worried about using it at school. And I find this interesting because, so I don't want to talk about like AI taking over the world or whatever. That's a completely different type of topic, and sentience, and those are not really related to this, right? This is not that kind of AI. But major AI advancements like this are coming. Right, and we're going to have to deal with it, and that is fact, right? This technology is here. It has been coming for a long time. We have known about it for decades. There's no surprises here. It's just amazing that the future has arrived. And in reality, I don't know that this particular future is actually that much of a leap compared to, say, the advent of the internet, which connected people together. That was a leap forward of such unprecedented magnitude that I'm not sure this is actually bigger than that. It could be. The future may prove that, wow, the internet was nothing and AI is what really was amazing, but it was also the internet that made AI reasonably possible. So we'll see. But importantly, this is a tool, and it's important to see it as a tool that exists along a continuum. So I want to talk about it in a school context first, because this is the one that is the most concrete example. People are worried about students using tools like ChatGPT in order to do projects at school. And I mean, there's a certain amount of reasonableness to this worry, right? Traditional school depends on students doing things like writing essays, doing research, and so forth. And ChatGPT takes basically all of that work and does it for them. If you haven't seen it, people are going to ChatGPT and turning out doctoral theses that, in many cases, are able to pass muster in a doctoral review. That's kind of a problem because it means that the things we've been evaluating people on are now boilerplate. And that's the way to look at it. I think there's no other way to look at it. You have to look at it that way, and anyone who's not looking at it that way, honestly, I think has no place in academia because they fundamentally don't understand the purpose of academia and knowledge and advancement, which I think most people in academia do not belong in academia. So I'm making that statement, right? And I will go toe-to-toe with anyone who tries to tell me that this is a problem, because I think they misunderstand the entire point of human development and education. But historically, let's back up and say, why do we test students in this way? Why do we ask students to write essays? Because no one wants to read them. It's not a product that people desire. Why do we make them do this research and all these things? Well, so a lot of these techniques came up from medieval times and developed heavily in the 16, 17, 1800s. Go seek out a library, seek out a newspaper, find a publisher, gain knowledge that has been written and read and recorded somewhere else, accumulate it, read it, put it together and regurgitate it based on personal experience, based on new thought, based on access to different resources, summarize, and so forth. These are important activities for some reasons, such as it is important to be able to find the knowledge you need. So one of the reasons that we always did this was to force students to go out and locate appropriate knowledge, to identify appropriate knowledge, attempt to have them avoid fake news. However, that was completely co-opted by this education system. But they co-opted this system and actually created a situation where people were taught to accept fake news, because what they did all through my childhood, and I assume for a long time before that, is they taught us that anything that was published was useful as a reference, and we never had to fact check. We never had to apply common sense. We never had to look at who a source was. As long as a publisher had given them credence, as long as a publisher had decided they could make money on it, that was considered something you could use as a reference. And so it taught us, it ingrained that big business, that newspaper outlets, that magazine outlets, that book publishers, anybody in the commercial space was never to be questioned. And this has created a position where now fake news is so completely prevalent, and it always had been, right? America was based on fake news going back to the original election campaigns. This is not a new thing. That people would put fake stuff in the news has just always been there. But so this is a situation where they taught us really bad things using this process, really bad things. But so the idea that you would research things, that you go look up information, that was good. But the way that they had you fact check it was bad. So the whole thing may not have been a good process at all. And then it also taught us to take that information and regurgitate it, which is not entirely terrible. But there aren't that many cases in life where we want to blindly look up information and blindly regurgitate it. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. That's not a skill that you want to have as an adult. That is a thing you do to waste time and keep kids from being idle. It's an easy way to babysit. But those are not job skills that any employer has ever looked for. No one ever says, can you go to the library and document a whole bunch of resources and tell us information that's already written down and readily available, but in your own words. No business wants that. These are not skills of adults. These are an entire skill set for children. A skill set that does not readily apply to anything. It does not apply to your ability to function as an adult. It doesn't apply to your ability to vote well. It doesn't apply to your ability to run a business or be a good employee. They're essentially useless skills. They're ancillary to useful skills, but they're essentially useless. But those skills that we were taught when I was a child or earlier, going to the library, looking up catalog cards, all kinds of really detailed skills that they drilled into us. They put a lot of time into it. None of those applied by the time we were even in college, let alone in the working world. Right? All of that was a focus on the under the hood mechanisms that were momentary in time, things that are gone. There's no card catalog left today. There's no libraries like that. And we question things that are in books because they're out of date and they're not willing to be live like things on the internet. So they're more questioned rather than less questioned. So those skills were lost. And then the skills of writing. At first we were taught to do it in cursive. Then we were taught to do it with a typewriter. Then we were taught to do it with a word processor. Then a word processor was spell checking. And at each step that these new tools came out, people would question, well, we're making it so easy. We're giving them a free pass. They don't have to do the handwriting, as if handwriting was an important skill. Well, they don't have to do the typewriting, as if typewriting was an important skill. And then it became, well, a lot of people don't spell the same, or spelling is hard for some people. And all that matters is that your final result is right. So eventually we started overlooking using spell checkers because it doesn't matter. And it turns out, if you actually study the language, that spelling is not an absolute. Spelling is constantly an argument. Different countries, even those that speak English natively, spell words differently. There is no definitive guide. It's impossible to say what is spelled correctly or incorrectly. You can say what is spelled incorrectly or what is correct or incorrect via a specific source, such as the Webster's Dictionary. But if you simply want to know what is and isn't correct English, that is always up for debate. Many of the words have a tremendous number of optional spellings, and just because it isn't a common spelling doesn't make it wrong. And if you make up your own, that sometimes counts too, because the language is incredibly fluid and a lot of the rules are completely arbitrary. And then we often commonly accept things that would violate any rules if we were following rules, and the only rule we're following is we're doing what the crowd wants, which is kind of okay, but kind of defeats the purpose of having rules in the first place if we're going to overlook them when it's convenient. So after spelling, we started having grammar checkers. First they were simple, then Grammarly came along, and pretty soon it's suggesting entire sentences and changing the way that you write. So now not only do you not have to know how to spell, you don't have to know your grammar, your sentence structure, you're not even in need of many of the rules we were taught on how to make a sentence sound right or sound powerful or deliver the right message. Grammarly is going to do that for you for free, and everyone has it. And if you don't use it, you're at a huge disadvantage because your competitors are using it, whether it's other students or other email writers in your business or whatever. Everyone is using these tools, just as if you were a mathematician and you went out and said, well, I spent all this time learning how to do math by hand, and you went to get a job and they said, well, your employer's not going to let you do it by hand. You have to use a calculator, because it would be a waste of time. It would be irresponsible. It would be immature to do it by hand when you had calculators readily available. And they probably won't let you use a calculator either. They'll make you use a computer that will do the entire set of math for you, not just problem by problem. And if you tried to suggest that you should do it by hand, manually, on paper or whatever, you would be fired, because that would be ridiculous. That would be clearly just an attempt to waste time. It would be wasting the company's money and putting them at risk, because you'd be spending extra time and not as likely to get the answer correct. Even though you may be very good at it, you may know exactly what you're doing, it is much easier to accidentally make a mistake. You're adding human error into the process without benefit. So many of these things that we learn in school that feel like they're important because we were taught them or our parents were taught them actually are detrimental, because they're not the goal. They're not the thing we're there to learn, and they don't provide a value when we get later in life. The goal of learning in school is really supposed to be, if it was learning, it's to prepare us for our adult lives. It's to prepare us for our working lives, to prepare us for our societal lives. And if it's not doing that, then it's adversely affecting us, because it's wasting the time that we should be using on those things. And ChatGPT is simply an extension of those things. It is not a whole new paradigm. While it feels like it, it is not. It is simply the next phase of Grammar Checker. Now, it takes a couple of those pieces. It takes the Google search. It takes a smarter Google search. It's just the next generation of that. It goes out and it collects that information and automatically sorts it. It tries to figure out what's fake news for us, because humans are bad at that. We've proven adults in America have not gotten the education in the past to decipher what is true and not true, what is likely true and not likely true. And some people are very good at it. You see news and there's a wording. You can tell when something's going to be fake without hearing any of the details. There's a way that it's presented. You won't believe what happened next. You know the next thing's fake. You know it's stupid. If you click on it, that's what is wrong with you, right? So we have these clues, and AI can, without emotion, eliminate a lot of those problems for us. And if we don't use it, we're being irresponsible. We're being irresponsible, wasting our own time, wasting employers' time, wasting educators' time. We're spending time doing things we don't need to do for no purpose, as a proxy, as a way to ignore the things we should be doing, just as has happened with the other things. If you do math manually, or you write your papers manually and you don't use a spell checker, or you write them by hand and you don't use a computer, what are you really doing? What you're really doing is wasting time on the under-the-hood mechanisms of writing an essay, instead of actually putting in something of value. And the thing of value is our human aspects to it, right? Our personal opinion, our own filtration of the data, our own take on the data, our own biases. This is where the value comes in. And if we're doing anything else unnecessarily, We are wasting it because we don't need to. It's just boilerplate. And we recognize that over time with each of these technologies. If you're spending your time with a paper dictionary looking up how to spell a word instead of letting the spell checker do it for you, you're just wasting time. It's not wrong to do it, but it's wasteful. It's silly. It's goofy. You would laugh at anyone doing that. If you were to go to a library and pull out books, go through a card catalog and try to find books instead of just going on Google and looking at them instantly from your house. Sure, you might enjoy it. It might be fun, but we all understand you're just wasting time. Maybe for your own enjoyment, nothing wrong with that, but it's wasting time. It's not being productive. You're doing something other than the task you're trying to do. It's procrastination. In the best cases, right? Best case, it's procrastination. Worst case, you're attempting to deflect people from the fact that you're not doing the actual work. Now, in the case of university, of course, the problem is they've rarely evaluated people on the parts that matter. They only evaluate them on their ability to set up the boilerplate. Can you pull out books from a library? Even though that's a skill that's not needed, that's what we're going to evaluate you on. Can you spell check in a dictionary? Even though you'll never need that in the real world, that's what we're going to evaluate you on. We're going to evaluate you on the things that don't require thought on either side. And that's why. Because not only is the education being blown off, but the professors are blowing off their duties. Instead of teaching you to think critically, instead of teaching you to use your brain and to provide value, they're trying to find ways to keep you busy and to waste your time, but make it seem like it might be important. It feels important. Society has built these structures, there's this cute little dog, have built these structures where the idea of looking up books and spell checking and making sure your margins are just right and adjusting the fonts, those things all seem like they're really important because we've repeated that they are important for a really long time. But they're not important. There's no way to argue that they have value. They have no value. Any computer can do that for you in 2 seconds. And it's done. Now, do the real thing where you engage your brain. I know that's hard to do and it's hard to evaluate. That's the only part that an employer cares about. It's the only part that qualifies as education. Everything else is an avoidance of work, an avoidance of education. So I think the problem that we face today is not ChatGPT. Is not AI that's going to do a bunch of the hard, pointless waste of time work for us. That's not what we need to be concerned about. The thing that's actually happening, and this is really good, is that tools like ChatGPT, just as Grammarly did, just as search engines did, Buenas tardes, Feliz Semana Santa. And what it's actually doing is exposing how little actual education has been going on. It exposes just how much professors and teachers have been using busy work to hide the fact that we're not teaching anything of substance. We're learning mechanical tasks that we know in the future will be automated. When I was young, we knew that typewriters were coming. We knew that computers were going to replace them. We knew all of this technology. We knew we were going to have it when we were older. We knew we weren't going to use these things in school. We knew we were going to have calculators, right? We already had calculators everywhere when I was little. The idea that we would lose those calculators as we got older made no sense at all, right? No one actually believed that. No teacher actually believed that. They acted like it was important to do it manually because they didn't know what to do if we could do things faster. And I'm not saying you shouldn't learn to manually do things. I'm not saying you shouldn't know how to do stuff. Right? But those are things you learn as you go, right? As you're in elementary school, you learn how to do addition and subtraction, multiplication. But you shouldn't be still doing those things when you're doing a master's thesis, a doctoral thesis. You're in university. You should be showing something beyond basics, beyond your ability to write clearly and have good penmanship, beyond your ability to purchase expensive paper. You should be showing that you're able to take information and process it through your brain and use it in a useful way, that you have the ability to add value beyond what computers are going to do automatically. And if you're not showing that, why are we educating people? It doesn't just waste the time of those who are being educated, it wastes society's time. All of society is in need of people who are going to do bigger and better things. That's where AI and other technologies, I'm going to turn the camera around because this is just a beautiful path. All these technologies, what they do is they free us up to do more important things, more challenging things, more beneficial things. On one hand, they allow us to ratchet up in society, as all tools have done. Humanity is defined not by the manual work we can do compared to other animals, but by the tools we use so that more work is done by our ecosystem than by us alone than we would do manually. That is what our humanity is based on. And being upset or feeling threatened by ChatGPT or other new technologies is a lot like being threatened by hammers and nails and wheels and fire. Now, looking back, we say, well, that would be absurd. These things clearly made life far, far better for humanity. And that's exactly how we're going to look at this, right? The need to write pointless, banal essays on nothing will be wiped away because they're everywhere. They're limitless. Anytime you want an essay on a stupid subject for no reason, you can just click a button and have it. One better than any human could do, one with tons and tons and tons of research that would take lifetimes for humans to do. That is so much better. Why would we opt for worse information? Why would we opt for an analysis of only part of the information? Why would we ever want less? We don't. Of course we don't. And that's not how it's going to work. Soon we're going to realize that there are so many tasks that humans have been doing that we don't want to do. It wastes our time, it wastes our energy, and takes away from the pleasures of life. And so there are two things we hope to accomplish in all these things. Oh, this dog, same dog that chased me the other day. You know me, you chased me the other day. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. He's a very brave dog. He's very little. And this is going to give us two things. It's going to take the work that we do and it's going to make it far, far better, right? The same as any other tool that we've done. Instead of taking months to do something, we'll have it done in seconds. And that will give us more time to do far better things. Humans can focus instead of on things that they're inherently bad at, things that can be easily automated, right, by computers. Computers are good at some things. We're going to let computers do those things. And humans are good at some things. And we're going to let humans do those things. And over time, we will be able to make computers do more and more things humans don't need to do. And instead of being forced to do pointless work, we'll be relieved of it. And instead of being forced to waste our time learning the mechanical underpinnings of something useful, we'll be able to focus on and actually learn the thing that's useful, or just stop wasting so much time. And at the end of the day, yes, we will certainly be more productive, but there's more to it than that. The end goal is to eliminate the needs for all humans to be working all the time. And every society outside of the United States recognizes this, that the end goal is for society to be productive and healthy and happy, not to make individuals all have to work outrageous numbers of hours. And that is the only reasonable final outcome of the human experience. That has to be where we're trying to head. And tools have constantly allowed us to move in that direction. And ChatGPT is just another one of many, many, many tools along a long continuum that will eventually allow us to spend more time at home, more time with our children, more time with our pets, more times engaged doing important things to humanity. Right? Until someone can make a compelling argument to me as to why they need for their own happiness, their own health, and all of the industrial revolution crap of humans are fulfilled by doing work for the man is, don't even try to repeat that stuff. Like, no one is going to buy that. That is as much, no one has ever said that and been honest, right? No one's ever actually believed that. That feeling of our goal is to be happy, our goal is to enjoy ourselves, our goals are art and literature and the human experience and spending time with family and friends and having time to make friends and to make family and to be with our kids and to be with our animals and to travel and to experience and to maybe cook, all kinds of things. There's so many things that humans truly enjoy that make us happy. And we can't do them because we're focused on meaningless work. Work that may in the moment make sense. Well, to build this thing, we need this essay written so that we can, okay. But what if it was a click of a button and you didn't have to do it? The act of doing that work is not the value. It is the outcome. And it's not even the outcome of that work. It is the outcome of the work that that enables. And if we can make all of that not require humans to waste time doing it, isn't that what we want? Of course it is. Of course it is. It's rhetorical. You don't have to answer. But please get in the comments and do answer. But look, we have cows just hanging out. They're like, who's recording us? Why is someone here? What is going on? Such a beautiful day out here. It is 97 degrees though. I am way too warm. And yeah. So at the end of the day, my answer to the concerns about is artificial intelligence going to make things like school, well, the students can just bypass it? No, it's exactly the opposite. If you could bypass it using AI, it's only exposing that it should have been bypassed all along. We should never have wanted them to be doing that work. If it feels that way, it means we've missed the point of education, because none of that's really education. That's education of the under the hood mechanisms of something, the underpinnings, the things that don't matter, the boilerplate, what we care about, actually making people able to provide more value to themselves and society. That's what AI is going to remove from their plate, so that's what they can focus on. They're going to remove the boilerplate from their plate. There's a lot of plate in there, and make it so that humanity can spend time on what matters. And for students, that means spending time on real education, things that actually expand their brains, rather than things that just teach them to have good hand-eye coordination with a pencil. You know, teaching them how much time did we spend in school studying how to manage a pencil, a school. I don't even own a pencil as an adult. I have not owned a pencil in years. I do not use a pencil. I do not write in cursive. I find it offensive when people write in cursive, because I have always found it to be lazy writing for people who don't care if other people can read it. Yet we spent hundreds of hours being taught how to write in this sloppy, immature, unprofessional script. And then we were taught how to use manual typewriters, as if that was a skill. I already had a computer when I was taught a manual typewriter, but they wanted us to learn these old skills. And not for like 5 or 10 minutes, just so we would appreciate how things had advanced, so we could see history in a different way. No, we had to learn really, really clearly as a skill so that we could type on manual typewriters. And then I was taught on electric typewriters. It was ridiculous how much time we spent on things that I would never, ever use as an adult. I didn't even use them as a child. And everyone went through this, and everyone still goes through this. The education system is focused on anything that doesn't require the brain, anything that doesn't require real teaching, real learning, because it's easy. Because it's easy to grade, it's easy to make sure everyone passes, it's easy to see progress, because there's no real progress, because there's no real effort, there's no real teaching. Right? Sure, we're teaching some math, some reading, some little bits, but it's all a study in how can we drive the minimum even lower. Right? And now standardized testing across even greater areas. How can we drive the bottom down even more? It's a drive to the bottom. And we should be rejoicing that suddenly there's an opportunity to give our students time to do more higher level thinking, taking away the low level thinking, more high level thinking, more time to think about philosophy, to think about art, to think about literature, to experience things. Now they have time. They don't have to spend their time doing something else. Thanks for joining me. Please remember to like and subscribe. How do you feel about ChatGPT? Have you used it? Other AIs? Do you think it's going to... And of course, the GoPro 11 died right as I'm doing the wrap up. So remember to like and subscribe. Get down in the comments. Let me know what you think about AI, about ChatGPT, how this is going to affect the world. What are your concerns with education? Is there something that I didn't address? Because I really hope that I'm getting across that yes, there's concerns with AI, but they are not the ones that people are bringing up. It is not the ones with our schools. Anything that you have a concern with, I believe, with ChatGPT and the school systems is not a problem with ChatGPT. What is happening is it is exposing your existing concerns with the lack of education, and the fear is this exposure. It's going to be found out that what has been done, that we're scared of finding out that we've not been educated. We're scared to find out that our own education was a waste of time. We're scared to find out that it's not really what we think it is. And it's really just, it's pulling back the curtain. The wizard isn't behind the curtain. That's what's happening here. And we're finding out, oh, these professors who we think of, we put them on a pedestal, my gosh, they haven't been doing anything. They're like secretaries. That's all they're doing is some combination of secretarial and babysitting. They're not using their brains. An AI can overnight just do what they were doing. Where's the humanity in that, right? That's a scary prospect, and it doesn't mean that they've not been doing anything. It means that the things they've been doing, we've had this writing on the wall for decades. We know this was coming. This is not a surprise. Maybe it came upon us really quickly, but we should have been preparing students for a really long time for this eventuality. Have we? Some people have, but a lot of people haven't, and unfortunately, a lot of people are going to be caught by surprise that the world is changing. And specifically, the internet did this a number of years ago, and it did to all the same things. Suddenly, all this research, all these things that we used to do were ripped away. This is doing it to another piece of that, and it's time to, the best reaction we can have right now is don't get angry, don't get panicky, say this is the future. There's no way that's changing. This is how the future is going to be. How do we best adapt to it? Those who learn to use this and other tools to the best of their ability are going to be the biggest winners. That's what we need to be teaching. That's what we need to be thinking. I need to use the tools at my disposal. Never avoid the tools because you think they're lazy. That's not how it works. It's not cheating. It's not plagiarism. These are just tools for you to express yourself, for you to do research, for you to get boilerplate. If that boilerplate is all that's necessary, great. Move on to bigger and better things. Use this to elevate society. Don't panic. Change is not a bad thing. Change is a good thing. Stagnation is a bad thing. But humans are scared of change. But look inside. Is it change that you're afraid of? Take a moment and say, wait, this is change for the better, for all of society. Yes, there's going to be changes, but overall, all humanity is going to win. Embrace it. Use that for yourself, for your children, for those you teach, those who teach you. Put it all to good use. Like and subscribe, share on social media, tell your friends about the show, get in the comments, let me know what you think, and as always, I will see all of you tomorrow.